they allow the people to continue to gather for the next 40 days, it will prove difficult for the terrorist, henchmen to carry out the attacks that they want. So they want people to stop coming out. They want to scare people. Again, they forget the mentality of Shias. We are in the holy month of Ramadan. In the next few days, it is going to become the martyrdom anniversary of the Imam of the Shias, the first Imam of the Shia, Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you are committing massacres against Shias in the holy month, you are only reinforcing, their defenses, and you're going to make them, stick to their guns, and they're not going to move. Exactly. This is really terrible.
Exactly, Zainab. I don't mean to cut you off, but it seems we have worked out our communications. Mr. Mick Napier, Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, they're joining us from Glasgow. A pleasure as always, Mr. Napier, and thank you very much for joining us. Of course, the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign has been so much, not only for Palestinians, but for everyone around the world who has stood against the oppressed people, of course, and against, of course, the IDF, any person who also allies themselves with them. Your first regards in respect to, of course, what we are seeing in the region.
Well, thank you for your very kind words. We'll have to make sure we earn them going forward. What we're watching, what we're watching is a mafia state. What we're watching is the abandonment of any attempt at morality, ethics, and negotiation between people as equals. And America and Trump insisting that they take what they want. They want Iranian oil, and they're going to attack and kill in order to get it. They want to make sure that Israel dominates the entire region, fresh from genocide, probably planning more genocides, but they want to make sure that nobody can challenge Israel throughout the entire region of West Asia. And that's the open plan. It's openly discussed in Israel, in the Israeli state, and it's increasingly openly discussed by the Americans. In fact, I think it was Rubio who said that yesterday or the day before, it was one of the top three, who said that America wasn't going to attack Iran, but after Israel attacked, then they had no choice, which does seem to suggest that the tail is wagging the dog, and that Israel can force the American hand and force a situation where killing Lebanese or Palestinians or whatever, but American young men will be sent to die on behalf of Israel. So what we're watching is a shocking development. I think it's a new world order, which is very dark and very horrible, which the Americans are trying to force upon everybody. Trump, just about half an hour ago, I was listening to him live, and he's a very strange man. But because Spain wouldn't join in the attacks on Iran, he said he's cutting off all links with Spain. So Trump is prepared to attack not just the major opposition that he faces in West Asia, Iran, but he's prepared to attack anybody who stands in the way of America taking what America wants. He's already, by the way, shocking, he's already talking about how he is going to use Iranian oil. So this is a man who talks like a mafia, looks like a mafia boss, and he promises the people of the region endless suffering and pain at the hands of the Israeli genocidal state. And I think he wants to make sure that the world is safe for America and the world is safe for Israel. And for him, Iran is just a chess piece on a chessboard. And the suffering and the pain and the killing is just what America now does. They're starving the people of Cuba to try and force them to run up a white flag. I think what's interesting about Trump, by the way, is that whereas the Americans invaded Iraq, invaded Afghanistan, and were crushingly defeated at great cost in Afghanistan, the lesson they've taken is to use high technology, to use bombing and missiles in order to punish the population so that the population can be separated from the leadership.
And Mr. Napier, I don't mean to cut you off. We have
Please
the
do.
minutes are running out, of course. Your take on, now that we have all parts of the Axis resistance are participating in this really retaliation, revenge for the martyrdom of Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, whatever you want to call it, all parties are now fighting back. What kind of role are they going to go ahead and impact, not only on the downing of the Zionist regime, but of the whole situation in the region?
And beyond. The world is in despair at the criminality of Trump and the American government, followed by virtually the whole of Europe. And resistance inspires people. They will pay a terrible price, but I think ultimate victory is a very, very strong possibility. And this will change the entire nature of this region, where Europe and then America have caused such terrible suffering in Iran by overthrowing the government in '53, but also across the entire region, caused incalculable suffering and pain and held back normal development. So the resistance is the only possible way for people to emerge into the sunshine from this darkness.
And Mr. Napier, in regards, of course, to the Persian Gulf states, they are the part that was non-existent, of course, back in the June 2025 aggression on Iran last year. It was Iran, U.S., Israel, the Zionist regime attacks, the Iran attacks, of course. This time around, it is completely different. Every single U.S. and Zionist interest in any Persian Gulf state has been targeted, if not once, multiple times. U.S. officials have left, of course, many of them, even in hotels, have been targeted. The Islamic Republic of Iran has not left anyone unaccounted for. And of course, we are now seeing that certain countries there in the Persian Gulf states are now actually shooting down whether drones or missiles by Iran, saying that they're protecting their own sovereignty.
Yes, this is becoming a regional war. We are seeing many, many people killed in Pakistan coming to the support of the people of Iran. Yes, this cannot be contained within narrow national boundaries, because it is a war against the entire peoples of West Asia, of the Middle East. So yes, I think the lesson for countries around the world is, and that includes Britain, don't have American bases on your soil, which are bases of aggression, which are used in order to attack and plunder other countries. Trump expressed his anger that even the poodle, the puppy dog of our own Prime Minister here in Britain, Sir Keir Starmer, Trump expressed annoyance because he didn't move fast enough to allow bases, British-controlled bases in the Indian Ocean, to be used to bomb Iran. So the only way to be acceptable to the American empire is to be 100% obedient. 99% will not be enough. And they are determined to reduce their own involvement in West Asia, because their ultimate enemy is China. But in order to do that, they want their proxy. They want their client state, Israel, to be unchallenged. And for Israel to be unchallenged, it means permanent suffering and permanent inferiority for the people of the region. And the crime that Iran has committed is to believe it's equal to anybody, to refuse to bow the knee to the American empire. To be honest, I don't think the main issue is nuclear enrichment. I think it's about obedience, submitting to Trump's empire, or believing that you're equal to anybody.
And Mr. Napier, with a minute to go, of course, in regards to the military capabilities, we know that the Islamic Republic of Iran, for 47 years, since the Islamic Republic started their Islamic Revolution, they have been time and time again advancing their missiles or weapons that they've been preparing. They have not, again, initiated a war on any other country. In regards to the military capabilities, of course, from what we are seeing from the Islamic Republic of Iran and their strategy, their preparation, in regards, of course, in opposition to what we're seeing from the U.S. and the Zionist entity, which military capabilities would you bet your money on?
It's military capabilities, but it's also determination. And I think it's also the big mistake that Adolf Hitler made in Eastern Europe was that the people there were understood that they had no choice but to fight, because what was planned for them was their doom. And I think, I'm not an expert militarily, but I know that in a war against an empire such as Iran is now involved in, it's not the technology which is ultimately successful, it's the morale, it's the human beings. And we see time after time, from Algeria to Vietnam to Aden to many colonial wars, it's the determination of the people and effective military command and control and technology and training. But ultimately, it's the determination of the people not to be enslaved, which is the ultimate determinant of victory.
And Mr. Napier, we have around a minute left. If you could please briefly, we don't want to make expectations. We don't know, of course, the time of how long this war is going to be continuing, but perhaps an outcome from what we have already seen.
America always thinks that they can crush opposition. They've discovered, in fact, many American commentators have expressed their shock at the ferocity of the Iranian response, the breadth of it, and to reach from Cyprus and attack a British military base, and to reach so far across the region, to land missile after missile on Israel. So I think it's an asymmetric warfare, because we don't have huge aircraft carriers, but the use of drones and the Iranian use of technology in this present war is extremely impressive, and it's certainly impressed many American generals, some of whom are beginning to advise Trump that he may have to change tactics.
Well, exactly on that, let me go ahead and bring it over to our colleague Zainab Zakaria here joining us in the studio. Zainab, of course, some very important points by Mr. Napier there. Again, the situation is unknown, but from what we have seen so far on the ground in relation, of course, to the situation, a lot of our guests today have the same thing. Nothing shows us what an outcome can be other than the evidence, the proof of the reality of what we are seeing currently on the ground, completely in opposition to what we are seeing from, of course, Donald Trump's recent remarks. You were saying before, of course, about the ideology, about the situation with Iran, but you didn't get to the point, of course, in regards to what Trump said in relation to his European so-called allies. He thanked Germany, but he said he wants to cut off relations with Spain, and he's very upset with Britain, of course.
Yeah, I think the days of the United States controlling every aspect of Europe is coming to an end. And we're beginning to see, countries take a stance and be like, we will not be dragged down with the United States. We will not be drowned in the blood of the innocent that you are soaking yourself in, even though they themselves are not, innocent. But there is a slow but constant and building consensus among many Europeans that it is now almost impossible to continue to go along with the Americans when it comes to this issue. And Trump himself brought it to this point. Even in his very first, in the very first month of his second term, he started this, tariff wars that was terrible for the Europeans, because they assumed that they have this exclusivity, with the Americans. We've given our soldiers. Every time the Americans went to war, the Europeans have always supported them. The Europeans opened their market and gave the Americans free access to come to Europe to come and participate, while they have to pay some certain. You want me to stop? You have something
exactly. I highly apologize. It seems our colleagues in Beirut are ready, but let me go ahead and thank you very much. Zainab Zakaria, our colleague here, joining us in the studio from the Islamic Republic of Iran, and as always from Glasgow, Mr. Mick Napier, Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign. A pleasure, and thank you very much, everyone, for watching this ongoing rolling coverage. Heading over now to our colleagues in Beirut.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this live coverage, this rolling coverage that continues on Press TV to follow up the latest developments, not only on the U.S.-Israeli aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Iranian retaliation, but the very significantly new element, which is that Hezbollah has returned full throttle, it seems. It seems that the resistance of Lebanon has decided that it is about time that it retaliates for the year-and-a-half-long Israeli aggressions that continued on Lebanon. Now, today there were several operations for the Islamic Republic, although it seemed, for the Islamic resistance, although it seems that Hezbollah is taking things step by step. Of course, in order to discuss these issues further, I am joined by Ali Rizk here with me in Beirut. Thank you very much, Ali, for being with us. It would be interesting to get your take on when Hezbollah entered, and especially how they launched a small operation and then basically allowed things to die down, allowed people to go perhaps find refuge, safe haven, and now they have started with their operations. But what is surprising most is that not the launching of rockets or drones, is that we have operations that are close to the border, like, for example, the operations against the areas of Shabab Farms and Fashuba Hills and the movement of the tanks over there. What do you make of that?
Well, as you said, it appears that possibly Hezbollah did resort to that strategy of luring the enemy in, first of all allowing for the evacuation of the southern villages and then escalating gradually its attacks. You have to remember that if the Iranian government were to fall, if the Islamic Republic as it is no longer exists, that poses an existential threat to Hezbollah itself. So I think that Hezbollah, by doing this, first of all, it's fighting for its survival, but there's also the wider Lebanese